Everyone. So Wendy let me know that she is getting on the road, so she's going to drop off at some point and then reconnect in this meeting. And Andrea needs to go right at 9:30, but I don't think it will even last that long, although you never know. So thank you for coming to this special meeting, and thank you, Chad, for sending out minutes. I think we'll just do the minutes though at our next regular meeting, and we'll focus on reviewing the plan. And I think at this point, everyone either made comments or at least said that, it looked good. I know that Aaron sent out the draft yesterday with the pictures, and I'll be honest and say I didn't get a chance to go through that thoroughly. But I assume the text is all the same, and then it's just different pictures. And I thought it looked great. I mean, just great. So I think what I want to do is open it up for comments right now on the plan, especially comments that you later thought of that you haven't yet given to John or to Rachel. And I don't know if there are any, but would anyone like to give some comments?
I like the revised pictures, Erin. Thank you for those.
I missed what you said, John.
Sorry, yeah, I've got noise here. Erin did a great job in getting us new and better pictures, so I think the whole thing looks real nice.
We did get some of Concord Meadows. I had a sunny afternoon, Sarah, and took a whole slew of them, and we tried to make the grass a little greener and the skies a little bluer, and I think they came out pretty good, actually. So it's nice having a lot of our photos are of our affordable housing development. So I think that's a good balance in here.
It's beautiful, and I think you missed what Andrea said in the very beginning.
Oh, sorry.
But you got her mom's former apartment, and she.
Oh, really?
And
I missed that too.
She was very, very happy to see it. I thought the pictures were not only beautiful, but exactly what we're talking about. That I like to show people we have some affordable housing in Madison, not a lot, but to the extent we do, it's beautiful and well done and has been there, integrated into the community. So I think, Erin, you did a fantastic job of getting those pictures and putting them in different places. And then some beautiful pictures of Madison where it was clear we're not building on this beach, but this is a beautiful town where you'd want to have some affordable housing. So I really, really appreciate that. Other thoughts or comments? I guess I'm assuming that to the extent people had comments, they gave them to you, John and Rachel. And I really do think it came together, in a great way. I don't know if it's worth it, but maybe we could take 5 to 10 minutes. My goal is that everybody here on this call really understand the plan we're putting forth. I mean, and we understand that we've had consultants, and Aaron working on this plan. So there may be some things in here that aren't crystal clear to members of this committee. But before we talk about how we're going to present it, maybe we could take 5 minutes to go over the goals, not necessarily one by one, but just anything that you have questions on, or maybe John and Rachel, the way you might present it to the Board of Selectmen and Planning and Zoning. I think towards the end, some of the things were things we discussed, but I'm not sure that everybody is crystal clear on some of the zoning and other things. Would that be possible?
Yes. I'm not sure that was sort of questions for several people at once. From our perspective in terms of presentation, I think what we would probably do is not get too bogged down in the weeds of the current numbers and demographics, But, because I think at the level of the Board of Selectmen, at the level of many people in town, there's that general understanding. I think the survey results bore that out, that people generally understand that Madison is a real expensive place to live, and it's hard to sort of crack into the market, right? So I think we would probably, focus a little bit on why we're doing this plan and sort of that background of the state legislature, as well as just the town's sort of moral responsibility to kind of think about these things a little bit more, and we'd probably focus most strongly on the specific policies, and to talk about what Madison can and is going to try to do along those lines. But yeah, so spend most of our time on the actions.
I guess I was saying, and I agree 100%. Do people feel comfortable that they understand this plan well? But and I can't get a read on Zoom if people do or don't. So how about give me a thumbs up if you feel like, do you want to hear John and Rachel give some explanation of the different goals? Are we all feeling like when we looked at that end zoning and the goals, we've got it and we could talk about it with our neighbors?
Okay. Oh, you're good, Wendy. Okay. I was going to say, we can't hear you.
So then I guess let's just discuss the presentation for the Board of Selectmen and Planning and Zoning. I guess specifically, well, first, Erin, maybe you want to just take this and say whether we have a meeting planned or don't, or what's in the works.
Sure. So we do not have a set meeting of both the Board of Selectmen and the Planning and Zoning Commission yet. Lauren was floating some dates and trying to nail down members, and our weeks are getting pushed back a little bit, which I don't necessarily think is problematic. One date that I wanted to run by all of you today would be May 5th. That is a Thursday evening. And Sarah, I did run that day by you and John. And it just so happens that it's a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting date. So I know they're available. So I had told Lauren that I would just kind of put that date out there and just get a general idea from the committee, because obviously we'd like to have as many of you there as possible as well. This is your efforts here. And then if that's agreeable, Lauren can reach out to the board as well, the Board of Selectmen, and that's our smallest piece, but of people to try to coordinate. But yeah, we ended up with some challenges. We have multiple public hearings the week of the 25th for charter revision and budgeting. So we're, and John works for many different municipalities at this point doing commission meetings. So it really has been a challenge to find an agreeable date. So fingers crossed that you're available on May 5th.
Erin, I certainly am.
Yes, thank you, Peter.
Do you know what time that would be, Erin?
Yes, so the meetings, typically the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting starts at 7. Although we do have some flexibility if you'd prefer a little earlier in the evening ahead of that, like a 6 o'clock before the regular Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. I think that that is to be determined. If you have times that you're not available, please let me know and we'll try to work around those. Excuse me. And if it ends up being 7 or 7:30, but just plan for an evening is pretty much what we're hoping for.
Erin, how long did you contemplate this might be scheduled for?
That's a good question. John, can you, I would think at least an hour.
Yeah, I mean, our presentation would be no more than a half an hour. And then if there's, public commentary or questions or something like that, but the presentation can be brief. Or let's say concise.
Yeah, I think an hour is fine. I think that's kind of a minimum. I think there will be a lot of questions from the selectmen and the P and Z folks. And I think a half an hour presentation sounds fine. I would anticipate more than a half an hour of questions. That's just my guess.
At this point now, the Planning and Zoning Commission agenda is very light for that evening. So there's nothing really pressing on there for regular business. We can adjust. So we can allocate the entire meeting to it if that's easier.
So just show of hands, it looks like everyone can do May 5th at 7 or 7:30 or 6 or whatever it ends up being. Okay, so that's great. Erin, did you want to get one more date from this committee while you have them, just in case the, Board of Selectmen say best laid plans and that, Peggy's gone or something?
Yeah, I would say we're gonna have to circle back to John. We've been going on a one date. So for that week, let me just pull up the calendar for the town as well.
Again, Aaron, maybe it should be May 19th as the fallback, because that's the next P and Z, and you've got those people generally locked down.
It is.
That's pretty late, Peter, in terms of,
Yeah.
getting comments that we could then take and use.
Yeah, that's fair.
My thought on this was, because the board would like to, it's my understanding that they'd like to have a public hearing regarding the plan. And so part of that process is posting the plan for public comment 35 days ahead of the hearing. So what would likely happen is that this draft plan, if the committee is okay with this version, to post this for public comment, let the board set a public hearing date, know that we'll be having a joint meeting in the interim. So it's really two opportunities for public feedback at the joint meeting and then again at the public hearing for adoption. But ultimately that date of adoption, I think we conservatively estimated when I had talked to Peggy that perhaps the second the meeting of the board in May, and I think that's the 23rd, Al. So that's a fallback, that's a regularly scheduled meeting, but the board could also schedule a special meeting for that. So I do think even if we push our meeting back a little bit into May, we can still remain on track for a June 1st adoption.
I'm sorry, Erin, were you saying that you've discussed having May 23rd be the public hearing day?
So I meet with Peggy every week, so just kind of running through what meeting dates fall from the board ahead of June 1st. That was just that meeting is a regularly scheduled meeting, so that was just a safety that we have that date already.
No, that's fine. I just feel that was going to be my next thing, is why not say what the public hearing would be so that we.
So I don't know yet. That the board will have to set that date. That is up to the board. If they'd like to have a special meeting on another night, they're going to have to pick the day of the public hearing. So I don't have that date for you today. So
can I ask Al, how do we go about getting that date? Because obviously the public hearing, even more so than this meeting, is when we'd want this whole committee to show up.
I guess respectfully, Sarah, this actually is not your problem. I think the selectmen have to figure out for themselves how to make all of this timing work. And I think Erin and Peggy should have that next step of the discussion. It's really up to the selectmen to make sure we meet the state timeline, have our vote in time, have the public hearing in time, and sign off on it. So I think there are many things for this committee to worry about, but that's not one of them.
Okay, I guess here's what I'm concerned about is that I want us to be there. And so that's a huge concern to me. And without knowing the date and knowing how busy all the members of this committee are, I don't know that we'll be there. So I guess, let me say this, Aaron, if you are working, if that's something that you are working out with her or the board, or Al, if you know that the board's working out, as soon as you have some dates floated for that, the sooner this committee can know about it, the sooner we can mark it on our calendars and see if we can actually come. Because I think it would be amiss to have a public hearing where we don't have any of our members or very few of them. And
Agreed.
certainly if we don't have John and Rachel, I mean, if you think you're going to expect questions at the Board of Selectmen and Planning and Zoning, public hearing, you're going to have a lot of questions. And I'd like to have some people who can knowledgeably answer those questions and can stand by this plan. So I think it is my problem and our problem and a good problem. We want to be the face of this and we want to be at this hearing and we don't, and unfortunately the way schedules work today is, could be a month away, but we've just all got so many commitments. So Aaron, do you think that this is something we would know this week?
It's up to the Board of Selectmen to pick the date for their public hearing, Sarah. So whether they decide to discuss this at their next meeting or the following meeting in April, they will ultimately pick the date, choose the date of the hearing, and then we will bring that date to the committee, and hopefully everybody can make themselves available.
Sarah, let me provide you with a little more comfort. I now understand your concern. After this morning's meeting of this group, I will work with Aaron and Peggy to get this on the schedule very quickly. And obviously we'll have to solicit dates from you people as well, but we don't need to wait officially until the next time the selectmen sit down together. We can start to work out the timing immediately. So Aaron, after today's call, you and I should get together offline here and
Sure,
figure out how to move this forward.
sure.
And Peter's.
I'm comfortable with the 23rd. Can anybody check their calendars now to see if you're available on the 23rd of May? Because the 30th, that's Memorial Day weekend and the Monday is a holiday.
I'm good. I'm good. Works for me, Aaron.
It would be an evening meeting on
Yep.
on the 23rd. At least we would have that as a fallback.
And
I could-
Peter
if-
just-
It's a Monday, May 23rd. Yeah,
Monday evening,
yeah,
yes.
that's good.
I have a conflicting meeting at 7, which I could possibly miss, but if we do it at like 6, that would free me up too.
Okay. That's a possibility too, is having it ahead of the regular Board of Selectmen meeting.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Peter just floated that it might be helpful to not invite, but tell David Fink that this is when it's happening and see if he wants to be in. I think that would be helpful, although we could, talk about that. Okay, so as soon as there's a date, we'll know the date, and I understand that we can't set it. I wasn't trying to set it, just trying to know it. So I guess we'll see when we know. I mean, we'll know when you set it. So that probably takes care of discussing the date of the presentations and the public hearing. And just then I guess we'll count backwards in terms of when we need to post it. But that would still give us, we're not in this week yet. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's where one of my questions were, if you see any issues in this draft that you would like to have addressed, we should be posting this plan next week for public comment to keep in line with our 35 days. So that feedback would be very helpful to have sooner than later.
Agreed. And I think that's what this past week was, is this committee giving whatever feedback they wanted to give. I know you sent a new draft, but that I assume was just pictures and not changing the text. I didn't get a chance to read it, or was it changing some text?
There was some text changes too.
Right.
Okay.
And Rachel, maybe you can just
Awesome.
kind of give us a quick overview of the few, I think they were very minor, the areas that you updated in between the two texts.
Yeah, most of them were pretty minor. Trying to think. We added in a little bit of information under the Housing Trust Fund about what it can be used for. I think the InDesign layout had been missing the section specifically talking about affordable housing in Madison, so we added that in. And most of the other stuff was like pretty minor.
Anything in the percentage of rentals? I think there were some questions somebody had passed along. What did the numbers mean if it was an overall? I shouldn't have said it. Now I have to look it up and tell you. I feel like you made an update there. Somebody, it may have been.
It may have been me. Are you talking about when it said like 62% and what, and then it came up with a
Yes.
number?
I think you clarified that a little bit also.
Yeah.
I think that's on page 10.
Let me see.
Yes, the percentage of cost burdened families. Other
Yeah.
than that, I didn't see any major updates.
Yeah. Heather provided some useful information on
The certificate, the voucher.
certificate and voucher. Yeah. So that also has like kind of a clarifying sentence too.
I have just one minor correction that I saw on page 4. It says the table above shows the calculation, but the table is below. So I don't know if that's.
Oh, yeah.
But
Okay.
So it seems to me that we've had this past week to look at it and give our comments, and to the extent we gave comments, Rachel's added things in. So maybe what we'll say is, it's complete from our point of view, but because it was sent last night, for those of us who want to just take one last look, it should be like a proofreading look, not any kind of, big changes. And I don't think you'll get any big changes because we all read it for, this past week, but happy to read it one more time over the weekend and get you anything again by Monday, assuming that there won't be anything major. It'll, or maybe even nothing. And so I think we can say from this group, we're done, except for like one last proofread since we didn't see this draft last night. Does that sound good for everyone? Okay. I mean, I don't think you should be waiting on us for anything at this point. You've given us ample time. So,
One suggestion, Sarah, we have that great listserv of emails now. So as we post the plan, and we can send an update to those email addresses that the plan, where it's posted, and we can plan to include that in one of Peggy's updates as well, community updates, so that we can start getting the word out ahead of time to everybody that we do have our draft for review.
I love that. I love that idea. And also to tell them when the public hearing is. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. And similarly, I don't know how these things work, but could we send this draft now to the Board of Selectmen and to Planning and Zoning so they have it way ahead of their, yes, is that, have they already received it?
I just kind of wanted everybody to give it their nod of approval before we started.
So with that, I agree. And
that's great.
Okay. And I apologize that I mean, let's all, I'm going to read it again with the pictures in. I'll say that. My guess is, Peter, you might read it again or you've already read it. So, and if you're not going to read it this weekend, totally fine. If but I don't want Rachel and John to be waiting on something that's not coming. So I would just say, I will read it this weekend and you will have mine by Monday morning. If not close of business Monday, you'll have it even before. I don't expect to have much of anything except some, regard for how wonderful the pictures look. So if anyone else feels that they're going to read it, just shoot John and Rachel a little note to say, I'm going to read it. Here's when you're going to get my comments, so that on Monday, we'll be ready to send it at least to the Board of Selectmen and Planning and Zoning, so they get it way ahead of time. And I don't know if they'll read it, but if they read it ahead of time, they'll be able to make their comments. And then when we have that meeting, right after we have that meeting, well, actually, it'll be posted before that meeting either way, Erin, correct? So
Yes.
this is the version that will be posted. So fine, okay. So we can send that out to our listserv. I like that very much. It might be also something I will pick up the phone and call Ben from the source and just tell him, you know, we have a draft plan, and I think we should send him that draft plan, and then, you know, allow him to ask questions of us, of John, of Rachel, of you, Erin, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Is it helpful to have an official date for posting, like a set date that's selected?
I thought I counted them, Heather. I feel like it had to have been, it has to be posted by the 12th to make it for the is it the 12th? Or the 13th, actually. The April 12th or 13th would get us the 35 days to the 23rd. So I'll just, you know, we'll nail down the actual public hearing date, but it is next week that we need to make that 35 days. I'll let you know what that day is.
Okay. I mean, I think that's really all we have on our list right now. I think we did it even before Wendy had to go to Florida. So does anyone have any last comments or thoughts? Thank you, John and Rachel, for pulling this together. And Erin, I mean, honestly, and for getting, I don't know how you got those beautiful pictures, but thank you. I really, I mean, in my quick look, it's really come together very nicely. So,
Yeah, thank you
John,
all.
I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Just general planning. Does the committee want to meet next week at your regularly scheduled meeting? How do you want to proceed? Do you need every week now that you've got a document? What's your thought on that?
It's like Heather has a thought on that.
Yeah, next week is a town holiday, so.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, I don't know if we don't want to do that.
I forgot where we are here. You're right.
And
Okay.
I'm not sure that we have much more to discuss. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I was gonna say, if you, I mean, once we get a date, if you guys wanted to have a little coordination just before that, we could, you know, I could share, you know, sort of a draft of like the PowerPoint presentation or something like that. And we could, but a lot of that could be accomplished, you know, just via email and stuff as well. But you may want to just sort of say, if we need to coordinate it just in advance of the public meeting, that's fine.
And I'm so sorry. I mean, I skipped the biggest agenda item, which is how are we presenting this, right? And so thank you. Yes, I think it would be helpful to have a meeting. I guess what would be helpful is for us all to just see how it's being presented and to think about what questions we might receive, to think about those questions ahead of time so that we might be able to better answer them. John and Rachel, am I right to say, or maybe Erin, who is taking the lead on presenting this? It sounds like maybe, John, you're thinking of putting together some slides, and is that correct?
That was my assumption, especially given the fact that you guys all seem so damn determined to have me participate in this thing. I would plan to, do a little presentation. I would say probably you, Sarah, and possibly Erin or Al do a little bit of intro about the effort of this committee, and what you were seeking to do, and then Rachel and I can sort of run through the substance and content of the actual plan.
Okay. And yes, I think we're going to take that same damn determination and try to make some affordable housing. So I'm glad that we forced you to be there. And yes. Oh, bye, Wendy. Is that a bye? Or yeah. Okay. I guess we don't know exactly when that meeting is, but before that meeting, you'll have slides. So it does seem to me worth it for us to meet. No offense to this group, but my experience is if you send out the PowerPoint by email, some of us might just miss it. And I think it
Sure.
might be better to actually go over it. And so we all feel comfortable with it, and then, just talk through some questions. So I don't know, Heather, I apologize, but I know we must have skipped the 15th. Did we put a meeting then on the 22nd, or did we just skip it and put it on the 29th?
It's skipped and it's put on the 29th, but we could probably add it in, Aaron, as a special meeting.
Sure, on the 22nd. That's spring break week in Madison. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody's out of town, if that works. I go nowhere, so I'm here. But otherwise, the 29th would be the week ahead of what what we've tentatively scheduled for the May 5th joint meeting. So that
Yeah,
might be okay, actually.
that's fine. That's fine with me. Is that fine with everybody? Unless somehow that May 5th date doesn't work and then you get pushed back. Let's say we'll keep it on the 29th. And then if we have a different date from the Board of Selectmen and Planning and Zoning, not Planning and Zoning, because they'll be there. So we know that they can make that date. But if the Board of Selectmen can't make the May 5th, then maybe we'll think about having a special meeting.
Yes, I'll work on that. Hopefully we'll have responses by Monday so we can get this nailed down.
Great. Al?
Sarah, there's a small procedural matter. At some point, you're going to be asked whether the committee formally voted on this plan and whether the vote was unanimous in approving the plan and recommending it onward. I'm not aware that we've actually ever taken a vote.
Well, the plan's not done technically yet, Al.
I understand.
So we definitely haven't taken a vote because that would have been premature, but your point is well taken that we should take a vote. And I'm wondering if there's anything that prevents us from doing that by email, considering that over this weekend, we're taking our last look at it and, we all got it last night. So, I mean, not the text really last night, but the pictures. So would people be willing to, and I could remind everyone to weigh in. So I think let's say it this way, if you have comments that you're giving over this weekend, and again, that would be things like typos and not, you would share it with the group. And then maybe Rachel, if I'm assuming there's not going to be very much, we could turn it back to this group and vote over this week. And it's as simple as saying yes or no. Yes, Heather, is that not kosher?
Yeah, I don't know if a vote via email is kosher, to be honest with you. I would have to double check on that before you do that.
You could vote at the next meeting too.
That's what I was going to say. Then we'll vote on the 29th. That's fine. And well, thank you, Al. That's a good point. Does it matter if we put it out for public hearing?
No, it says draft on it, or final draft.
Let's do this. I suppose we could vote on it now. And then, knowing as long as none of the changes change anything, as long as we have sort of just typos and things like that, you want to vote on it now so that at least it's voted on before we put it out for.
The only question I have, Sarah, is you're missing 2 members right now. I mean, not that you can herd all the cats, but we are missing 2 members.
We are missing 2 members, but percentage-wise, are we not good? I don't know.
No, I think you got quorum, but I mean,
Oh, but if you want to have it unanimous, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to voting on it on the 29th, and let's make it clear that we hope to have everyone in person because we're not sure we're allowed to vote via email. And
Yeah,
maybe by that time we'll have the answer if we can vote.
yeah, I think you can check with Lauren Rhines on that because
Fine.
for example, the Madison Foundation will allow a vote by email, but everybody has to vote.
I don't think we have any real structure as far as voting. I think it's maybe for transparency, it might be nice to just do it at your next meeting when everybody's present, as it's live streamed and recorded and taking minutes.
Fine. That makes sense. Although if it's unanimous, then, it's trans.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anybody to vote against it.
So,
but-
okay, so let's try for the 29th. I will just ask Lauren that question though. And then, because I just, as a practical matter, I just know everyone's not going to be there on the 29th. I don't know who, but you know, usually we don't have a full attendance. So, sorry, I'm getting.
Well, in advance, knowing, Sarah, that that's going to be the meeting date, we'll just let everybody know. And if they can't attend, then they can email, you know, send a message, you know, in writing of whether or not they're in favor of that. So that might, at least we can read that at the time of the meeting, if someone has a conflict.
Okay, so the dates to remember now are April 29th, possibly May 5th,
Yes.
and possibly May 23rd, but that is not in any way set in stone. That's simply a meeting that we already have, so that could be our public meeting. So if you have that date, hold it, but it might not be. And I think that's probably it. Does anyone have anything else for next steps? Or are we good? All right, well, with that, thank you for coming to this special meeting. Thank you, John, Rachel, and Aaron, for all of your work. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in a couple weeks. Enjoy spring break if you're having one.
Yes. Take care.